Okay, we have a quorum, so let's stand for pledge of allegiance. Oh.
Oh, I think I talked about it. Okay, now it's 4.
Okay, good call. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Meeting called to order, and we'll start with roll call.
Committee Member Adams.
Present.
Committee Member Barstad. Committee Member Hildebrand is absent. Committee Member Mather,
Here.
Vice Chair Graybill,
Here.
and Chair Gallagher.
Here.
All right. Moving on to approval of the minutes, I'll need a motion and a second to approve, and then we'll take a roll call vote, but you can have a few minutes to review if you need it.
I'll go ahead and make a motion
Thank you.
to accept the minutes from the last meeting.
We get a second? I'll second. Okay, motion been seconded, approved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. Okay, so moving right into old business. Several items on the agenda today. So a few of them are just brief updates, starting with First Avenue truck signage. I did send an email out to the committee when this happened, but we did replace the signage on both ends of First Avenue with taller poles and an additional sign. So I would be interested to hear any feedback from those who are more frequently on First.
So since I don't remember exactly when the signs went up, but I have only seen one semi and 2 dump trucks since then. So
Great.
apparently, the people who are using that street are reading the signs.
Good. The goal was definitely increased visibility because I know that was a concern. So
Yeah, they look good.
great. Okay. Any other feedback on those? Okay, then we'll move right on to traffic control update. So as you know, last year, City Council, we did try to take the First Avenue closure to City Council. They ultimately went with an alternate solution of temporary speed humps or speed tables. It took us a little bit to get our engineer of record on-call contracts up and running, but they are finally up and running, and we have chosen a firm to do that investigation for us. So we'll probably be executing a task order in the next week or two, and then hopefully we'll have some potential solutions back within a month or so. And I do know, Committee Member Graybill, that they are aware that you had done some work. So we've been looking through your files, and that's been helpful as a preliminary start. So thank you. So any questions on that process so far?
No, I don't have a question, but I hope that they will take into consideration what the Traffic Planning Commission has been working on, because the Pleasant Valley intersection, the 228 intersection they all affect each other. And the increased traffic, of course, on First Avenue is because people avoiding the light. So when they're looking at this, I hope they'll take into consideration that sometime in the future, they're going to do something with those 2 intersections, and that's definitely going to impact the whole neighborhood, not just First Avenue, because people are going to do whatever they need to do to avoid that.
Yeah, and that probably won't be within the scope of this task order. Again, this is just a temporary, I believe, a 6-month solution. So we'll come back with some observations after those 6 months and maybe revisit the solutions on First Avenue at that point.
Hopefully, yeah, they will kind of be looking in that direction.
And I'll say too, I was doing a little bit of digging, and it looks like back in 2014 or 2015, the Traffic Safety Committee had recommended temporary speed humps on First, and it went to council for a cost of $10,800, and council ultimately voted no. So I just thought that was an interesting historical tidbit for First Avenue. So that's all I have for that item.
Well, I would like to add
Yes.
that when these temporary measures go up and they watch what happens, that they also pay attention down at the Holly Road and Main Street intersection, because as people not go down First Avenue, they will more than likely go down to the signal, and that'll do a more queuing and a backup in that area.
Mhm.
So it'll be interesting to see how that works. Maybe it won't be so bad. I think it probably will. There will be some cross traffic through Evergreen, Meadowlark, and Osage, but after a while, I believe that will stop because people will find that it's easier to go down to the signal at Holly Road and not go through the neighborhoods. It's like a toll road. People object at first, but then they realize it's quick and easy.
Okay, we'll be sure to bring that up. Thank you.
So if I may, some observations in my travels over on the coast and some streets that are frequented off the Highway 101 to get to certain locations. Last couple of times we've been over there, there are speed bumps in those residential areas now. They're the temporary style. But knowing what I know about the area that we drive in when we go over there, I know that it is slowing other traffic down quite a bit for the residents in those areas. So I know that it does work. I've seen it in other towns. I've also seen it in Albany where they have permanent and or temporary. The permanent tables over there work really well, and they're good for safety, emergency vehicles and things like that. But it's an observation I've made, and I'm all for it if it's done the correct way. So I'd like to see it. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So yeah, we hope to come back probably in 6 to 8 months with some more observations on that. Moving on, First Avenue crosswalks, Chair Gallagher, I believe this was an item that you had brought up last year, but I'm not sure if we had a quorum to discuss this.
No, we didn't. And basically, there's only one outlined crosswalk on First Avenue, and that's at the 228 intersection. There's a lot of foot traffic on that street, and possibly they would use a crosswalk at First and Andina. If, you know, that's probably a pretty cheap fix, and there should be something there because I see people crossing the street wherever, and it's not a good idea on that street.
At the 228 intersection with First or the Nandina intersection?
We need
Or both.
one at the Nandina intersection. The one at 228 and First is pretty well faded,
Yeah.
but there is a designated crosswalk there, but there isn't one anywhere else on the street.
Right. There's none at Main Street.
Right.
I'm not quite sure why that did not get done with the ODOT project. The stop bar is not in the right location either, but yes, there should be a crosswalk there too. In the greater scheme of things.
If you click on your feet.
Yes, because it's a wide location. I managed to get it a little bit shorter with the bulb out of the ADA ramp there on the west side. Could not get them to do anything on the east side ADA ramp to shorten up that crossing space. And the crossing time is what's critical for pedestrians. So
Okay, well, we can certainly look into that. Was there any other feedback on any other locations on First for potential crosswalks?
Yeah, it just surprises me now that he brought it up that
Mhm.
there's not one down at the highway.
Mhm.
And I think it's a good idea for the one in the middle of the block. I think that's a great idea.
Okay. And then the fourth item, it's just a reminder. I know some of you have come to some of the transportation system plan open houses or work sessions that we've had. We are kind of in the final phases. They're wrapping up the final draft of that plan. So we're tentatively scheduled for a first reading of the ordinance to adopt it on April 22nd at City Council. So if you want to plan to attend that to provide any feedback, you can, or you can always send myself or Angela feedback based on what you've heard, because this is kind of our last chance to incorporate any comments.
Also, to add to that, it will actually go to Planning Commission first. So you are welcome to go to, it will be in Planning Commission before that. Again, the tentative, I don't have the dates up. So it'll be either the first Thursday or the third Thursday of April. But until we know for sure, we won't let you know. So that might be actually a better way if you want to make comments, because the Planning Commission recommends to City Council. So if there's any changes, that would be best to do it during Planning Commission stage before it goes to City Council. So
Or again, get us your comments.
yeah, that too.
that's all I had for that. And oh, I'm sorry. go
And the
ahead.
full draft is available online?
It's not yet. No, they're working on the final. So this is the time to, if you want comments before we get the final to be published, that's probably better. But once we have the final draft, that will be publicized as well.
It will. Okay, good.
Mhm. So that's all I had for old business. And then Chair Gallagher, you wanted to discuss the use of engine brakes or Jake brakes.
Yeah, I know people up on Westwood and Osage along in there, and they're wondering why, if it's posted, why the trucks, so many of the trucks are using their Jakes coming into town. Even where I'm at, and people on down the street from me are hearing it, so, I don't know if there's signage that needs to be put up, or it's just it's something that, people are talking about.
There is signs there, they're just reading the wrong way, I think.
Yeah, I believe there are signs, but they're on
Yeah,
Highway 20. So I'm not sure that they would.
I think there's a sign on 228.
Is there?
I think so. Just past the Ralph Hill Fern Ridge intersection.
I thought there
think
was
there's
too. I
Yeah.
thought.
It might need to be bigger,
Yeah.
a lot of it don't pay attention to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's something that we're allowed to change out, obviously we could do the same thing like we did at first. It would just be up to ODOT, but we can certainly look into that.
Yeah.
Maybe a bigger sign, or just make sure that it's more visible.
Yeah.
I kind of like the music. I grew up with it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the signage, if the signage is there and we do have an ordinance, then maybe the signs, I hate to say, need to be bigger, but, or, something to make them visible and enforceable.
Mhm.
If we have that ordinance. Yeah, I never really noticed it until you brought it up, but I love the music
Pretty much standard coming into any city in Oregon.
anymore. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
should
right.
get used to it.
I thought it was the standard in the state, but maybe not.
I don't know. I know I see the signs in other, in other towns
Yeah.
and stuff like that are coming into, even some of the municipalities that are so small. There's just like maybe 4 or 5 houses and one store, like going to the coast or going to the east side. And there's, nobody around, but it echoes in the canyon or whatever. And so they've got it signs up saying, no Jake brake, $500 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But
I think it is a state statute as well.
Yeah.
I think.
I think so, because I had a conversation with one of the previous city managers a while back that wanted some more signs up about Jake brakes, and I found that the Oregon just doesn't allow it anyway, but sometimes you need to have a reminder for drivers that, you're in a residential neighborhood, you're in a city, don't do that. I mean, I understand the point of it, relieving the brake wear and tear.
that was more, and I'm just spitballing here, but
Mm.
that Jake brake and the use of it is more for out on the highway going down a hill or coming down off with a load of logs so that they're not standing on their brakes coming down off that logging road the whole time. And that would be, to me, that's
Yeah.
100% acceptable. Or out here on the highway coming down the hill here on the pavement and having to hit it, coming into the corners and things like that. But agreed, like I say, I grew up with it. But in town, they weren't intended for being used in town to go to, stop at a light or a stop sign, or as you're coming into town to bleed off speed. They're designed for being out in the, in the wild, if you will.
Yeah,
And that's what they were for.
The
you know.
ORS.
And then as time went on, they started using them more often and more often. And then it became a natural order of thing until they come up with something to slow that down coming into communities.
yeah, the ORS prohibits it on a highway.
Well, even there then, which I don't understand, because if you got to get,
Person commits the offense of engine braking. The person is operating a motor vehicle on a highway and uses an unmuffled engine brake.
Right.
Huh.
Yep. Exhaust brake, engine brake.
Yeah, a lot of times you hear them start about where the 35 mile per hour sign is
Yeah.
out there in the narrows.
Yeah.
Anything
Well-
else on that item?
Any
Yeah.
recommendations, suggestions?
I mean, there's signage out there. I mean, I don't, does a sign need to be lit up or bigger or pointed, fluorescent, something done to it to say, hey, don't do this. I don't know what the solution is.
I don't think there's one coming in like by the mill in Foster. I don't think there's one right there, but I will hear them coming in to town with it. It's not a lot or very often, but I don't think there is a sign out there. So I do know there is one on 228 though.
Okay, well, we can look into our options for changing out that signage. So that's the end of the formal agenda. If there's anything for the good of the order, any suggestions for future agenda topics?
I'd like to follow up on a prior one.
Mhm.
Jason, you had brought up, or somebody had brought up the issue at 12th and Tamarack. Is that still a concern?
Yeah, there was somebody that brought up that issue, but I've been down that many times and I don't think that's appropriate to have a stop sign there. Just,
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense to me.
No, I've looked it over too, and it really doesn't meet the criteria for a stop sign.
Yeah, and we have had crashes in the past there for people going too fast on that road and not making the corner. I know they've gone into that gate into the mill property, but I'm not aware of it being a chronic problem.
Okay.
Bruce Street has a stop street before you come to that corner anyway, so.
Mhm.
They're at the corner,
We're at on Spruce.
right at the 12th and Spruce. It's a lit in section.
Oh, yeah, to get out onto 12th Avenue?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but I think this particular concern was, or suggestion was to put a stop sign actually on 12th
Right.
or 2 so that people are stopped on 12th and Tamarack. I don't know. It just doesn't, for me, doesn't make sense unless I'm not thinking through this properly.
It was one of the residents that
Was it?
brought it to the committee. And he was asking for stop signs. I think that's something we can table, and because it really doesn't meet the criteria.
Joe, I kind of see you thinking. Do you have a thought,
Yeah,
an opinion?
Well, I'm thinking it's that west side resident with the wood fence. And a stop would not help because drivers are coming, they're intending to turn, no matter what speed. They can see that it's just a curve. I just don't think you can control the behavior of an errant driver in that scenario.
Yeah.
I just don't think you can.
Yeah.
Common sense takes care of 99% of everything.
Anything else?
I got one more item that's, since we were talking about Jake brakes and commercial vehicles, and that's parking them on the streets again. They're too big and they have a tendency to block stop signs, even if they're parked back away from the corner. If you're going 25 miles an hour down a street and that log truck's there and you're not familiar with the street, you're going to blow the stop sign. And I've seen it happen again recently. And then the other issue I have that I'd like to discuss at some point would be illegal parking. In other words, parking facing the wrong way on streets. And I think I brought it up before, but then I've missed a few meetings. So, but I that's kind of a pet peeve for me is people just parking and leaving their rigs overnight facing the wrong direction.
And the wrong direction.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Just about every street in town.
And you can find them everywhere.
Yeah.
Some are worse than others. So just looking forward.
Okay. Anything else? I'd also like to remind the committee that the name of this committee when it was recodified is Public and Traffic Safety. So we can also discuss public safety items, crime, policing, anything to do with that. We are not stuck to just traffic. So,
and speed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we have a new traffic officer that's doing amazing work. But there's still things that you guys can talk about.
I will say this, I still want to appreciate the stop signs up by the junior high. However, I just had a lady today and the wife said, don't yell at her. Drive right through it. And looked right at us, drove right through it. And I'm stopped there waiting for her to stop. And she didn't. But I appreciate those stop signs and what the city did with that because it has helped a little bit with the traffic up there. We'll see how the speed bumps go on first because I'd like to see it on Mountain View to slow the traffic down also. And we've talked about that before, but I do appreciate the action and the forward movement on those kinds of things. Same thing up at Oak Heights. They put the stop signs in up there and I believe from my observations anyway, that it's helped quite a bit with traffic control up there and the crossing guards and stuff like that. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, if you've been by there recently, you will see that the radar trailer is sitting there.
Just up there.
Yeah.
And thank you for putting that up there.
Just so everybody's aware, if you have an issue, you can call in to the dispatch and get it on the schedule and it'll get out to your area. I believe that's correct.
Yeah.
Dispatch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So we've been trying to come up with a schedule for it, but so far it's pretty much per call.
Well, I do appreciate you toting it out there and setting it up, and it means a lot. So thank you.
You're welcome. It's interesting because a lot of people come up and make comments. Glad to see it. So
Good. Good.
I like to see it around town too. I do.
So if, do we feel there's a need for a meeting next month?
That is up to you. It sounds like right now we only have a couple of discussion items that we've discussed before. So it's up to you if you feel there's an urgency to bring those up next month. I don't anticipate I'll have a significant update on First Avenue next month. So that is entirely up to you if you want to meet. I will say we're having a city council work session next week, Tuesday. It's a little bit out of cycle. We'll be doing an overview of committees, we have some new counselors just to let them know kind of who's on what committee, what the charges of the committees are. You're more than welcome to attend. It is just a work session. It's not really a training or anything. We would still like to do some additional training for committee members, but that's not what it is next week. So it's entirely up to you if you want to attend or not.
Anything on the public safety side? Chief?
As far as what would you like to know? I mean, there's always something going on.
Well, I will say on the May ballot, we will have our
yeah.
police services levy
That's yeah.
coming up. So
Yeah,
be on the lookout for that. It's the same rate that it's been for the last 5 years. And that helps fund the entirety of our police department. Without that, we would not have our police department.
good call on that. So yeah.
In May. Okay.
How about bicycle safety
Bicycles.
and issues with bicyclists in town? What do you see there? If anything.
I don't have anything that is noteworthy right now that's sticking out in my mind. I'd have to maybe do a little bit digging to actually see if we've had anything recently, but there is nothing that I've seen that is concerning right now.
And I'll say too, the transportation system plan one of the sections does focus on enhancing bike safety and enhancing bike paths throughout the city. So I would encourage you to take a look at past materials for that. There are some drafts out there already. They are more on the aspirational list because we do have very limited funding for projects like that, but those are good candidates for grants and things like that. So we are looking at that.
And I don't know if you're aware or not, but once a year, the police department puts on a traffic safety program for bicyclists. They issue helmets and things. So if you know people that are interested in that, why ask them to attend.
So the monthly report that you provide for council, is that like open to the public?
Yes, it's published with the
Yeah,
agenda.
okay.
And I was actually thinking today I should
So,
start just adding it
think-
here.
I would think that they should be getting that report because there's a lot of useful information on what's high this month, what's low, what's being improved, what's every stat about every single call, everything that goes through the department is on that report. And that might be a useful tool for you guys to come up with some ideas.
I will add that as a standing agenda item.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Also, Chairman, would you all like me when we prepare the Planning Commission documents for the transportation system plan to be heard? Would you like me to include you guys in on that so I can loop you in? I know like Joe is part of the transportation committee already, but I am more than happy to send that out to all of you at the same time if you would like. When it's complete, I can't send it out till it's complete, but if you would like a copy of that, I can do that.
And I'll say too, I didn't print it today just due to length, but if you go on the website to the agenda packet, I did include the last presentation for the TSP, and it does have a lot of the maps and the project information.
Okay, if that's it, meeting adjourned.
Six.
It's 20 minutes.
Yeah. About a half an hour too early.
Yeah, I know it.